Guys, yesterday, as of the time of recording this video, Bungie laid out all the exotic armor reworks that are coming with the Edge of Fate expansion, and because of these changes, some of these exotics might actually be worth using. So today I wanted to make a video and go over some of the exotic armor pieces that I'm now going to be looking out for when Edge of Fate releases, or in some cases, might even be trying to get a good roll of now, just so I have it. So let's start things off here nice and easy and talk about Hunters. Now, sadly Hunters, none of your exotic reworks are really all that strong looking on paper, and we'll need to wait and see the actual numbers in game before we can come to any conclusions. But that being said, there were two armor pieces that stood out to me, and those were Dragon Shadow and Blight Ranger. Now for Dragon Shadow, this thing has basically been forgotten about for ages now it seems, but with the Edge of Fate, it will actually be getting a somewhat decent buff, with it now, upon using your class ability, granting you increased stability, handling, move speed, class stat, sprint, slide, and ADS strafe speeds, alongside a passive increase to weapon stability and ready speed, and a free reload of your equipped weapons after dodging. This thing is looking stacked, and I wouldn't be surprised at all if Hunters started either using this exotic as their main PvP exotic, or just used it similarly to how you guys use Stompies nowadays as a free stat boosting exotic. Now, unlike Stompies, you do need to use your class ability to get these buffs, but with how the stats are changing with this expansion, if you wanted to have these buffs active all of the time, just get a high class stat set of gear and you should nearly always have these buffs active, which does sound really fun. On the other hand, an exotic that I forgot about personally, Blight Ranger, seems to be also getting some interesting additions and changes, with it now getting an increase to its minimum and maximum reflection damage going up to 150% and 50% respectively. This thing might now actually do some decent damage, alongside the patch to where cancellation damage was not considered scaling based on voltaic mirror progress, and melee attacks now counting as a reflection. This thing has some actual potential, at least on paper. One thing that would have been a good addition though would have been some kind of aggro mechanic built in when blocking with Arc Staff, so that you can more easily reflect incoming attacks. Now I haven't actually used this thing before, so I don't know if that's an actual feature within the exotic already, or just wasn't mentioned here. So go ahead and correct me in the comments if I'm wrong there. Either way, both these exotics got some pretty strong changes, so let's hope they're as good in game as they sound on paper. Moving on to Titans now, the exotics that interested me the most in terms of the updates they received include Actium War Rig and Phoenix Cradle. First for Actium War Rig, with the addition of auto rifle and machine gun final blows now granting a damage boost, this immediately caught my attention, because as a machine gun and auto rifle fan, being able to get a free damage boost on kills on top of the constant ammo regen and stability, this sounds insane for weapons like Thunderlord, Watchful Eye, Corrective Measure, Sweet Business. Literally any auto rifle or machine gun that exists and is somewhat decent is now going to be even better with this exotic. This also has me super interested in just how much of a damage boost you can get from this chest piece alone, and if it will stack with other buffs like Radiant or something like that. Either way, I'm very interested. And for the second exotic, I need to talk about Phoenix Cradle, because it isn't actually a bad exotic by any means. I'd say right now anyway, for Solar Titans, it's pretty okay actually, and one of the only supportive exotics Titans have. So seeing that it's getting a few changes was surprising, but definitely deserved. For those who don't know right now, it just buffs Soul Invictus aspect by giving you and allies ability energy, and slows your super depletion rate when in a sunspot, and will also grant restoration to allies. But now it will also extend the duration of sunspots you're standing in when dealing sustained solar weapon damage, and when you apply a solar buff to an ally, you also have a chance to create a sunspot at your feet. With these changes, this thing might have just become the support exotic for Titans, as you'll be able to constantly generate sunspots, which leads to constantly giving buffs to allies, and with the benefit of extending those sunspots so the buffs last longer, I'd be very interested to see how much of a benefit this grants when in a raid DPS phase, because if you throw a couple sunspots down at your feet, then deal damage to a boss with a solar weapon, that's going to increase the duration of said sunspots. This could be a very good and fun thing for any Titan player that wanted to play a more supportive role. But now let's move over to the exotics that I'm most excited about due to the fact that I am a Warlock main. those being the changes to Starfire Protocol and Wings of Sacred Dawn. First, let's talk Wings. So I feel like this exotic for the most part has just been pushed into a very specific playstyle that provides no real benefit or advantage compared to other playstyles. Like, why would I want to be in the air all the time if I get one shot immediately when I'm up there? And to be honest, I could be way more lethal using a different build like Sunbracer spam, and I could stay on the ground to do so. But this is where these changes come in to try and resolve some of these issues. First up, combatants are now less aggressive towards you when in the air, similar to the trait that the Manticore SMG has, and when you have a solar super equipped and get a solar weapon final blow, you will be granted restoration and will reload your stowed weapons. Now, this on paper sounds crazy, but let's break it down further. So, having a solar super on and getting a solar weapon final blow is now just going to give you the best healing buff in the game, and this will also auto-reload your stowed weapons. So let's say I pair this exotic with a solar primary and solar heavy. This would then lead me to constantly have restoration active and also have to never reload. And if I were to go deeper by putting the shoot to loot trait on my primary weapon of choice, you would also never need to touch the floor again once you're up in the sky. This on paper sounds really cool and is honestly the best thing they could have done to this exotic besides just giving it an entirely new perk. So I'm very excited for this one. But now let's get on to the exotic that is making a return from the grave, that being Starfire Protocol. Now the only major change this thing is getting is that now radiant damage is going to count towards getting your fusion grenades back quick, as it used to only be empowered damage from your rift or well of radiance that would count towards this. So now if you're able to keep radiant active for a long period of time, I'd like to think that the Starfire might be back to the most used Warlock exotic come Edge of Fate. And just one more thing to add here is a little while ago, Mr. Rufflewaffles dropped a video where he went over the new artifact perks coming with Edge of Fate. And whilst I won't be going over all of them here in this video, there are a few that are now standing out to me thanks to these Starfire changes. The first being Fever and Chill, where rapid precision hits with solar weapons grants Radiant and stasis weapons grant Frost Armor. So already we have a very easy way of getting Radiant and keeping it active for a long period of time. But that's not all. Next up we have Radiant Shrapnel, where dealing sustained weapon damage whilst Radiant or defeating a scorched target with weapon causes the target to release a solar projectile that deals damage and scorches on impact. So just a free extra bit of damage for fun, I guess. And finally, Shield Crush, primarily focused on the second half here, where while Radiant or Amplified, your grenade recharges faster and deals more damage. Like, what the heck is this perk? It's literally screaming use me with Starfire Protocol. It's crazy. Now, I do want to say that Bungie themselves haven't revealed these artifact perks yet, so things might change. But if they don't, expect either this perk to be disabled for the world's first raid race, or for the first team to be majority Starfire Warlocks. And those are the exotic armor pieces that I'm the most interested in thanks to the most recent changes. But what do you guys think? Be sure to leave your thoughts on these exotic armor reworks in the comments down below. And whilst you're there, if you enjoyed the video, if you could leave a like and subscribe to the channel, I'd very much appreciate it, as we're getting so close now to 2,000 subs, and it would be awesome if we could hit that goal. Either way, hope you enjoyed the video, and I'll see you all in the next one.